Today, we're jumping into a truly whimsical adventure that perfectly captures how an extraordinary, literally impossible journey can sometimes be exactly what's needed to fix a deeply fractured family. We're going to be unpacking the fascinating story of the Candy House in the Clouds. It's this wild blend of magic, mystery, and the very real, relatable emotional struggles of siblings trying to figure out how to honor their dad's legacy. Right off the bat, we get this quote: "It was the sweetest thing in the world." Now, that's exactly how the father in our story described a legendary fruit he supposedly tasted a long, long time ago. And get this, he spent his entire life trying to recreate that exact perfect flavor in his candy shop. But he didn't just leave behind candy recipes, you know? He also passed down these wild, completely unbelievable stories of a mythical two-headed creature called the pushy pulley bird. It sets up this gorgeous mystery for us right from the start. Like, was the father just spinning fairy tales, or was there actually some truth to his crazy stories? Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the Cloud Candy Conflict. Behind all the whimsy and sweet treats, there's a very grounded, very human conflict happening here. It's a bitter divide between two brothers over their late father's shop, Cloud Candy. The tension is perfectly clear. On the left side, we've got Benny. He is holding on tight. He wants to fix up the old building, keep the shop running, and he firmly believes their dad built it for both of them to share. But on the right side, we have Arthur. Arthur is pragmatic, a bit stubborn, and honestly, completely done with the past. He thinks the building is just falling apart and wants to sign the papers to sell it today. So they're entirely at odds, stuck in that classic struggle of preserving the past versus just cashing out for the future. And that bitter standstill brings us to Section 2, an accidental flight. Because Cloud Candy isn't just a regular building, and these brothers are about to be trapped in the sky. Picture this: a group of unsuspecting people, including this candy-loving kid named Peter and his friends Anna and Emma, wander into the shop looking for sweets. And suddenly, things go completely off the rails. The shop unexpectedly lifts off the ground like a massive hot air balloon, with the customers trapped inside. Meanwhile, Arthur is still outside arguing about the sale. Desperate not to let his brother take the place away without him, Arthur literally grabs a rope dangling from the flying shop. It's this frantic, crazy takeoff. I mean, the guy even loses a shoe in the process. But he actually manages to get pulled aboard this flying candy store. Arthur's reaction during all this chaos is just brilliant. He yells, "I wanted to sell it, not shoot it into the sky." It's a hilarious, totally understandable reaction to an absolutely absurd situation. But the humor? Yeah, that doesn't last long. Just as they're arguing, a sudden, violent thunderstorm hits. The storm completely tears the balloon, keeping the shop afloat. Benny tries his best to steer, but they're forced into a terrible crash landing, and they are definitely nowhere near their local park. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a completely impossible, dreamlike forest. So now they're stranded in an alien environment, which brings us to Section 3, 3 impossible things. They can't just call a tow truck out here. To get back home safely, the crew essentially has to solve a giant puzzle with 3 very specific steps. Step 1, they need an incredibly strong material to patch the massive tear in the balloon. Step 2, they need a sticky material to seal that patch tight. And Step 3, they need a hot material to act as fuel to lift the heavy shot back up into the sky. They realize they need to find 3 seemingly impossible items from this bizarre forest, which means, yep, they have no choice but to split up. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is what they find while exploring the woods. They stumble upon a miraculous discovery: their father's legendary pushy pulley bird. Just like the definition says, it's a mythical creature with 2 heads. One head pushes one way, while the other head pulls the exact opposite way. It's a walking contradiction. But more importantly, seeing this bird proves that the father's wild stories weren't just fairy tales. They were entirely real. Which brings us to the number 1. Why 1? Well, this single number represents the one solitary piece of candy that young Peter cleverly decided to save in his pocket for an emergency. When they meet the pushy-pulley bird, it turns out this strange creature absolutely loves the father's candy recipe. By sharing that single piece, Peter forms what he perfectly describes as a candy-based friendship with a bird. It seems like a fun, minor detail right now, but keep it in the back of your mind, because it's going to be a real game changer. Suddenly, the stakes for this mission go from a scavenger hunt to life or death, bringing us to Section 4, Escaping the Forest. The groups have split up and time is rapidly running out. Here's how the climax unfolds. Emma and the kids successfully gather the patch and the seal, but Arthur and Benny took the dangerous job of finding the hot fuel.
Number 1 on our timeline, Arthur successfully grabs the burning fuel. But then, number 2, a massive, terrifying monster, which the characters describe as a very bad cat, attacks them from the shadows. 3. As the brothers run for their lives, Benny hurts his back and goes down. Arthur refuses to leave him behind, and honestly, it looks completely hopeless. But then, 4, Peter throws that one piece of emergency candy we just talked about. The pushy-pulley bird goes after the treat, and in doing so, grabs the rope. 5, the bird pulls Arthur, Benny, and the precious fuel to safety right at the last possible second.
This terrifying ordeal actually serves a much deeper purpose, leading us to Section 5, Brothers Reunited. Surviving a near-death experience has a funny way of stripping away your stubbornness. It forces the brothers to finally communicate honestly. On the left, we see Arthur's realization. Out there in the danger, he didn't care about the building or the money. He realized that saving the shop actually meant getting his brother back. And on the right, Benny's admission. He acknowledges that by trying so hard to protect the shop, he was basically shutting Arthur out. He admits he should have shared a note their father left, and more than anything, he should have just listened. They finally hit the nail on the head, and that deep emotional rift between them is healed. So the whole shebang gets tied up nicely, giving us a thoroughly satisfying conclusion. The balloon gets successfully repaired with the strange forest materials. The brothers, Benny and Arthur, finally learn to work together in harmony, pulling in the same direction, just like they need to. And the pushy-pulley bird? Well, it joins the shop. They make it back home to the regular world with a new, kind of confusing, candy-stealing, two-headed pet. The shop is flying, and the family is finally together again. Which brings us to our final slide and a question I want to leave you with. Who helped Arthur the most in this story? Was it Peter with his super clever emergency candy strategy? Was it the mythical pushy-pulley bird physically yanking them to safety? Was it the whimsical legacy of cloud candy itself forcing them on this wild journey? Or was it everyone working together, proving that shared burdens are just easier to carry? Think about the true power of teamwork and how a shared adventure can fix even the most broken relationships. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope it sparked your curiosity and